where we can talk about how to leverage your expertise so you can scale, create impact, and live the lifestyle that you love. And this week's Tuesday Talk, we're going to talk about how to leverage your book with an online course. Because the reality is, if you've gone down that path of writing a book, well, congratulations. I know how much of a hard effort it is to get through that process of unpacking all of that IP, getting it down on a book. My book's sitting with the editor at the moment, and I can't wait for it to come back and be able to hold that book and say, yes, I've finally done it, finally gone through that effort of publishing it. But the reality is that it's actually hard to profit from a book. Okay, great quote there that you can see. We're not going to necessarily profit from a book. Okay, there are the exceptions, but generally, it's going to be very hard to just profit from a book. But on what your book can do for you, the profits you can make from what your book can do for you is unbelievable, as Mike has said there in that quote. And one of the best ways to do that, one of the best ways to profit from that invaluable intellectual property that you've managed to unpack and put into your book, that before it was invaluable but intangible when it was stuck in your head, and now you've got it out and put it into a book and made it something tangible that others can access, that others have this opportunity to learn from your expertise. And it's a great thing. But one of the better ways that you can scale and leverage that expertise is through an online course. Because the reality is, the key to profitable and scalable business is getting your educational content online. When you get it online, you've got that opportunity to reach more people. You can generate higher profits because you are reaching more people. You can be doing things in different ways because your educational content online can be operating 24/7. People can be consuming your content with or without your involvement. And that gives you this ability to scale. And that gives you the ability to be not just always in the business and doing stuff, but to step away and to focus on growing the business, to go and do other things that you want, or to focus on other areas of the business that need it so you can further profit. So getting that educational content online is great. If you think about coaches, and I talk to a lot of coaches and consultants, and so much of their time is spent talking to their clients. And so much of that time is actually repeating themselves. And if we think about the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, 20% of our efforts actually generates probably 80% of our profits. Well, if we can actually leverage our expertise and take away some of that 80% of our time where we're just repeating ourselves over and over through digital assets, create these pieces of educational content, it's going to allow us to spend more in that 20% that's going to generate the 80% of the profits. And certainly what we see is those people that have gone through that process, have gone through that journey of writing a book. They've gone, they're a business owner, they're an expert, and they've got to a point where they're going, yes, I want to write a book. And they're becoming this aspiring author, and they sit down and they pour out their valuable intellectual property. And they get to the point where they've been successful and they've written a book. But then often they become this unfulfilled author because they're not getting the results that they thought they would. They're not generating the profits that they hoped they would from the back of their book. But when we then help them and take that book to leverage that expertise and to turn the IP in their book into an online course, we can then help them to become this educational entrepreneur. And from that, then they can continue to grow and to scale along their journey, and they become this leveraged expert. Because if we look at a book versus a course, a book is very much informational, whereas a course is transformational. We can actually get things done. We can help people to actually change and transform through a course. A book can tell people how to change and how to transform, but it doesn't always get them there, and they need some further help. And the course can give them the tools and tips to do that. Now, when I talk about a course, I'm not just talking about a self-paced online course that people consume in their own time. That is one solution. It could be a masterclass that you're running with a group and your expertise is there and people are pulling on your expertise from your book. Could be a combination. They're consuming some stuff through self-paced online course and then attending masterclasses. It could be a membership site where you've unpacked all of that valuable IP from your book, created a range of digital assets, and people are consuming those in a range of different ways and paying you to be part of their membership program. Or it could be going beyond that to this ultra high ticket one-on-one type coaching program where people are paying you for your time and your valuable expertise. But the reality is that a book, while it's very much informational, a course is going to provide the transformation. And there's huge benefits of doing that. Huge benefits of leveraging a book into a course. It's going to allow you to profit. It's going to allow you to create more impact. Okay? Your book, you're only going to get your book to so many people. Whereas with your course, being on the digital space, you can get it to anyone, anywhere. People can be consuming that content 24/7. So you can have so much more impact to so many more people. Because it's transformational, they're actually delivering on those outcomes. And that is where the true impact comes in. And it also allows you to scale. Okay, we're taking this IP that is in your book and putting it into these digital assets that people can consume 24/7 with or without you. It frees up your time to do other things. It allows you to scale what you're doing. You can be delivering on that information that you're so often repeating. You're now giving to your clients, to the people you're working with in a digital asset, in a digital format that allows them to consume it without your time. And so it gives you opportunity to do other things that you love or to spend more time in those high impact areas where you're going to be delivering much more impact and transformation to your clients. So some great benefits there. But let's just have a quick look at the profit side of things. So let's assume that you have written your book and then you publish your book and you're going to sell it for $20. And let's assume you do a great book launch and you sell 200 books at that launch time. So you've generated $4,000. You then go and sell through your marketing efforts. You then go and sell another 5 books per month in your first year. So your total income in the first year is $5,200. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to cover the costs for the publishing and editing of your books. But if we look at leveraging that IP by putting it into an online course, and let's assume that 10% of those people who bought your initial book, so 20 people, or 10% of that 200 is 20 people, go on and buy a course. Now let's just assume it's a $500 course, okay? Just throwing some figures out there. It could be a $1,000 course, in which case the profit's going to be a lot higher. It could be a $250 course, in which case the profit's going to be lower, but the percentage of people who actually buy it might be higher. So it's going to up and down. So I'm just throwing some figures out there just to give you an idea on what can actually be done. you might be lucky. You might get 30 or 40% of people who buy your book also go and pay for your course. But if we just look at these figures, 10% of people, 20 people pay you $500 each for your course, then you've generated $10,000. Then throughout that first year, you continue marketing your course. You get 3 course enrollments per month, which means you've then made another $18,000. So in your first year, you've then made $28,000 for your course. Okay. Now, I would hope that that would cover the costs of your publishing and editing of your book, as well as the costs for creating your course, even if you came to a digital learning agency like ourselves to help you create your book and turn your book, to create your course, to turn your book into a course. Okay, that you would still be returning a profit on your first year. Got $5,200 from your book and $28,000 from your course. And this is not considering all of the other things sitting in your experience ecosystem, the high ticket course, the coaching program, the one-on-ones that people are also going to be consuming and buying, that is going to increase your profits. Okay, so we're just looking at simply a book to a $500 course, and you can see how much more profit you're going to generate from that. So how do we do it? Well, as I said, we're a digital learning agency, and we help people to leverage their expertise, help people to take that valuable IP from their book and put it into a course. So the first step that we do is we look at defining the destination. And this is really understanding, what are you trying to achieve? Why? Getting down to that big why. Why are you turning your book into an online course? Generally, what we see is there's people that want to take their book, put it into an online course, and they want it to be this $200 to $500 self-paced online course that people can come in, can consume, that doesn't take up much of their time or effort. And that's great. Then there's others that go, right, I want to have a book, I want to have an online course, I then want to lead that into a masterclass or a membership site, lead that into high ticket programs. So that's a slightly different destination. And that takes a slightly different approach in how we do that. As we unpack and look at this, defining this destination, we look at, well, what are all those things that sit in this experience ecosystem? We start to unpack the architecture, where the book is one part of it. A simple self-paced online course is another part. But then there's all of those other things sitting inside that experience ecosystem. And that's what we look at. And really understand that, define that at an early stage. So then we know what we're working with. We know what we're trying to achieve as part of this process. Then we go through our deconstruct, reconstruct phase. And this is where we deconstruct the information in the book, because it's not just simply a case of going, great, I've written a book, now let's put it online and just call it a course. Okay. There's probably information in the book that does not need to go into a course. If we took all of the information from the book into a course, we're probably going to overwhelm the learners. We're probably going to create this experience that people aren't really going to engage with. And so we need to deconstruct the book, to go through the book and work out, what are the key messages? What's the key learning? What are those objectives that we're trying to achieve? And then putting those across into an online course. Looking at that going, okay, these are the key things we're trying to achieve. This is the information that we're pulling out of the book. Now, how do we get that transformation happening? What do we do to give people the opportunity to practice those skills, to assess their knowledge, to reflect on where they are? What are all those other things that we need to put in there? And that's what we do. And we reconstruct that information into our course design blueprint. Once we've done that, once we've got that design blueprint down, then we start to look at, let's design the detail. And this is where we start looking at all of that information and the transformation we're delivering. and working out, well, what is the detail? How do we do this? What's the process we're going to follow in terms of, is it going to be a video? Is it going to be text-based? Is it going to be a PDF? Is it going to be an interactive e-learning resource? Is it going to be an animation? Is it going to be visuals? Is it going to be an infographic or a map or some sort of other diagram? All of these different assets that we can create. Because the reality is that while video is a great medium, it's not the only medium. And we need to make sure that we're matching the medium to the method, that we're matching it up and delivering on the right blend of assets to achieve our learning objectives. So that's what we do when we're designing the detail. Then once we've done that, then we can start to build the assets, to do the scripting for the videos, the scripting for the animations, getting the recordings done, getting the graphics created, creating the PDFs, the workbooks, the tools, creating the interactive online e-learning resources, all of the different assets, and start to build them out. We then go and set up the systems. So the things like the learning platform, the CRM, the sales funnel that we're going to use to draw people into the book, into the course. And then the final part is then where we deploy and deliver. So that is our process that we take people through to leverage that valuable IP in their book and turn it into a learning experience that's going to help them leverage and scale. And it's going to give them those benefits. It's going to give them more profit. It's going to create more impact. They're going to be able to deliver more impact in their community, in their marketplace, and they're going to be able to scale their business. So that's how you can benefit from leveraging your book into an online course. So thank you very much. If you're tuning in for this week's Tuesday Talk, if you've got any questions, please drop them into the chat below. Whether you're watching this, it's on the Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, type in your comments below. If you'd like to know a little bit more as well, then also we'll be dropping a link in the chat as well, linking out to our ebook, which talks about our process and talks a little bit more about how you can leverage your expertise from your book into an online course. Well, if you want to stay in contact with us, join in to our Facebook group. So it's Facebook groups/Edupreneur Hub. Join up there, come along, and we're constantly in there sharing information, doing a whole range of different things. So hopefully we'll see you there. So thank you very much, and catch you next week for next week's Tuesday Talk.